Okay. Am I audible? I'm audible, right? Good morning. So, usually you'll not attend classes on Saturdays, is it? So, is it in this entire course that class was there on Saturday? Never. This is the first time. Second time, is it? Okay. So, are you okay with this? Yeah, okay. Okay. So, I told you yesterday that we are going to start with the brand new concept of spring. But before I start, in yesterday's class, we have seen something. What we have seen? What we have seen. My friends, I'm telling you, you're not learning summaries or strings. Without practice, you will not understand anything. I just want to ask you, what all things you have learned in Hibernate? Remember? What all things you have done in Hibernate? You tell me the headlines, starting. What all things you have learned? First of all, tell me what is the need of Hibernate? What is the need of Hibernate? What is the advantage? To store data permanently. Your JDBC will also do this. So to overcome the disadvantage of JDBC, what was the disadvantage of JDBC? Was that? Yeah, okay. So you have to write a query there in JDBC, but Hibernate, everything it will take care. That is one. Number two, what is that? What permanently? So to make any object persistent. What do you mean by persistent? To store any object permanently, we will do that. How you will do that? How we will do that? How you will do that? How many days we have taken for Hibernate? No practice, right? Huh? Honestly, tell me, are you practicing or not practicing? Tell me then, how you will store any object inside your database with the help of Hibernate? How you will do operations in Hibernate? Mappings you ignore. I am having one object. And how you will take this object and put it in my database? How? What are the steps involved? First of all, what you should do? Huh? You have to create. You have to create one configuration object in the sense. That object, what you're storing in the database, we call it as what? Whatever you're storing inside a database, that fellow, we call it as what? It is an entity. That is why you'll use an annotation at entity, whatever you're storing in the database. Okay, how you will do next? What all the stuff you will create there? How many files you will create? Number one, what you will create? You create a Pojo class because what object? You need an object. If you have to get an object, you need a class. First, you have to create, that should be a Pojo class. Next. Huh? Settings file. We call that settings file as what? Configuration file. What should be the name of that configuration file? Hibernate dot cfg dot xml. So inside that, what all things you'll give there? Which database you're connecting with? Good. Then username, password, awesome. Then URL also you'll give then. Very good. So loading of the driver also you will do it in this configuration file itself. Great. So now how you will map, how you will do mapping with this table and how you will inform to the Hibernate that this is the object, this is the table, take this object, put it here. How your Hibernate will get to know that. This is the object, I should store it in that particular table only. How? Using annotations. What are annotations you will use there? Table, at table. Then column. Then tell me table, to whom you will give? At table. This annotation to whom you will give? Will you give it to a constructor? Will you give it to a variable? Will you give it to a method? You have to give it to a class. Means this class, this table. Means when I convert the object of him, this object, this table I'm mapping. Good. What are the next annotations? Column. So column for whom you will use? For variables, for instance variables. Great. So now your class is ready, your database is also ready. So now you have to trigger it and start working. So what you will code in the main method? Number one. Very good. So you have to create an object of configuration. Why? Very good. So configure is a method wherein that hibernate.cfg.xml calling will happen. So you have to create a configuration object. You'll call configure. Then what? You have to add the annotated class. Which object you want to store, that object you have to tell it, which is an annotated class. After that, tell me, my friends, who is an interface between Hibernate and your database? Interface in the sense, who is that middle guy? He is a session, and session you should get. How will you get a session? Using session factory. How I will get session factory? Open session, if you tell, you'll get session. Build session factory, you'll get session factory. Using session factory, what you will do? You'll tell open session and you'll get a session object. And after that, you will tell what to do. Now tell me, you should use save there. Session.save you should use. Then what you should use? Persist. That's the updated method. Tell me update you should tell. No, then what you should tell? And Hibernate, I think it's just a previous week I spoke. This is the psychology of Java, my dear students. Understand. Simply by listening to the class at that point of time, you can code. You will understand the concept nicely. But it will go like this in just 2 to 3 days. Why? Lack of practice. How many of you created the short notes, by the way? Short notes. How many of you have short notes? Raise your hands. Till yesterday's class, all of that notes is there in the short notes. Till yesterday's class. See, writing the notes is different. Creating a short notes is different. Short notes is different, wherein your entire short notes, you can complete it within 15 to 20 minutes. Means your entire Java code's revision should get complete in just 15 to 20 minutes. We call that as short notes. How many of you have that kind of a short notes? That is why lack of revision happens. I totally understand. Revising all of this concept from starting of first day of Java till now, it's not easy in one day complete. That is why you have to create a short note in such a way that in one page, your entire features of Java should get complete. In one page, arrays should get complete. In one page, strings should get complete. In one page, data types should get complete. How you should write it? I hope you know this already. If you have this one page, you should tell your definition, but you should not tell it in the form of statement. Data types, you should put a question mark. Real world data, put an arrow mark there into zeros and ones. Under that, you tell the DT, means data types are the converters, which will convert real world into zeros and ones. After that, you tell how many data types. Data types, again, question mark. 8, write all of them. You tell what is their size. You tell their what is their range. You tell their casting. You tell there's some problems. Data types, one page over. In the same way, arrays. In the same way, strings. Like this, all of them, one page, one page, one page means some 25 to 30 pages. Your entire Java, your entire course is only over. Now tell me, tomorrow is the interview. You have to go. But what things are there in your mind, you don't know. Take this short notes, 15, 20 minutes. Interview as is at maybe 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Please open the short notes. Just flip. Now you have that confidence now. Oh, I know everything. When we have this confidence, the attitude in the interview completely changes. But you don't have revision. And if you have, okay, what things they will ask? Nervousness, lack of confidence. The way, the attitude in the interview completely changes there. This is how it is. Short notes is damn important. You have to make it. You have to carry it. Okay, short notes you have to create. I don't know how many of you did it. At least now start writing short notes. Okay, coming to the Hibernate. After that, what we have seen? Mapping, correct? So how many mappings we have seen? 4 mappings we have seen. Unidirectional as well as bidirectional. So what are the kinds of mappings we have seen? 1 to 1 to 1. Then 1 to many. Then many to 1. After that, many to many. How will achieve this? 1 to 1, how will achieve this? First of all, tell me what do you mean by 1 to 1? Tell me what do you mean by mappings? Mappings in Hibernate. What do you mean by that? Getting the relationship between 2 tables and building that relationship, we call it as what? Mapping in Hibernate. 1 to 1, how will achieve it? You have to use one annotation. Annotation what? 1 to 1. So for such variable to whom you want to relate to, for him you should give 1 to 1. In the same way, all of those mappings we did, and you have to practice a lot, especially when it comes to mappings. And after that, what we have seen? What we have seen after that? Eager loading, lazy loading. What do you mean by that? Also we have seen. After that, what we have seen? Yes? We have seen what are the methods we have used and what are the updated ones. Correct? After that, what is the difference between get and load? What is the difference between eager loading and lazy loading? After that, I'm just asking you the headings. After that, the life cycle of Hibernate. And after that, we went to Spring. What all stuff we have seen in Spring? Number 1, tell me why we need Spring. We need Spring for a particular reason, correct? Tell me when the Spring was released in this world. 2003, created by whom? Rod Johnson, from a company, Interface 21. Currently, a Spring belongs to which company? Dell Technologies. In the Dell, there is a child company. What is that? VMware. It belongs to VMware. Great. So what is the advantage of Spring? It makes application lightweight. Not only that, we have seen a lot of things. It will help in unit testing. It will help me to integrate the data in a very easy way. It helps me to connect with your database as well in a very easy way. It helps me in ORM. So many advantages are there when it comes to Spring. And we have started with Spring Core. How we have learned core Java. In the same way, we have Spring Core as well. What all things we have learned in Spring Core? Spring Core, what we have learned. What we have learned. Tell me, you should create an object by telling new there? No. Then who should create object? Who should manage object? Who should give the object to you when you ask him? Spring container. Now to the Spring container, you should inform all of this. That is why you have to create configuration file. How many ways are there to configure it? 3 ways. What are those? XML, using Java file, using annotations. What are the annotations you will use to configure your configuration file? What are annotations? Full confusion now. 1 to 1, many to 1, web servlet, override, suppress warning. So many annotations are there. What are the annotations you will use? Component you will use. That's the only one. Component scan. That's the only one. Configuration also you will use it. Great. Next. After that, in XML, what you will do? You will put it, where will give the information that is Spring container, create the object, these many objects, using which tag? Bean tag. You have to set a values. Then where you will give the values? Inside a tag known as what? Property tag. And after that, we have seen Java file. So in Java file, how you will do? In Java file, what you will do? First of all, you should use add configuration there. And after that, you have to code that Java file. How will you code Java file? Huh? How will you create Java file? So whatever objects you want to create, that should be the return type of one method. You want to create employee object, the return type of that method should be employee. So give one name to it and you should tell him that please create a bean of him. That is why what you will use? Annotation. What annotation? Bean annotation. So all of this we have seen and followed by dependency injection. In dependency injection, how you define dependency injection? How you define dependency injection? One object is depending on another object. Taking this object and injecting inside this object, we call it as what? Dependency injection. So how many ways we have seen? Two ways we have seen. What is that? Using using setter method dependency injection, and after that constructor dependency injection. Tell me, my friends, there are two ways we have seen. Dependency injection are two ways, but dependency injection, to achieve it, we have two ways. What is that? Using XML and using Java file. So how you used to do in XML file? You have to use an attribute ref there. And whatever the dependent object is there, its ID, you have to pass it to ref. What about Java file? So you have to call a setter if you're achieving setter dependency injection, or you have to call a constructor if it is constructor dependency injection. See, taking this object, putting it inside this, if you are doing it, if programmer is doing it, we call it as what? Dependency injection manually. I have to do it automatically. What you will do? You will use a concept known as auto wiring. And auto wiring is achieved with the help of two ways. Number one, annotation. Number two, using XML. How you will achieve using annotation? Using one annotation known as what? Auto wired. Only auto wired? If there are two dependent objects are there, how will you inform that this object only you should insert? You have to use their qualifiers. So this is what we have seen with regard to annotations, auto wiring. What about your XML? What you will tell? Auto wire is the attribute what you will use. Where you will use? Inside the bean tag. Correct? How you will use? There are different modes are there. You remember what are the modes? By type. After that, by name. After that, constructor. Yes. By name means what? By name means what? Yes. The variable name or instance variable name, what is there inside that object, and the ID of this object should be same. This is by name injected. You have seen. By type means what? It will chuck address object. So address object means it will take it and it will dump it. So by type is very simple compared to by name. So using constructor also we have seen. And after that, what we have seen in yesterday's class? Life cycle of a bean in Spring, how it will go through. You remember what is the life cycle? What is the life cycle? Yes, loading the details. To whom you're loading or to whom you're giving these details? To whom? To the Spring container. Taking all the details, what your Spring container will do? He will create an object. So we call it as bean instantiation or bean creation. Or simply you can tell it as creating the bean there. After creating this bean, what you should do? You have to initialize it. So what your Spring container will use? Setters that it can use, constructor it can use, or sometimes directly it can access if you are using the annotation at auto wired. Great. Afterwards, after initializing, what you will do? You have to use it. How you will use it? By calling a method known as what? Get bean. Get bean, you can give the ID of an object or you can give the class which object you need there. After that, what you should do? using is completed, you have to destroy. It's not you, Spring container will destroy. And after that, we understood that by default, your Spring container uses singleton design pattern. Singleton design pattern for what? To create an object. Each and every time you ask get bean, you'll give the same object. Get bean, get bean, get bean. 1,000 times you ask, you'll get the same object. Means what is the proof? Or what is the conclusion of this? The Spring container, by default, it uses what? Singleton design pattern. But my expectation is I want my Spring container to give different objects whenever you call the get bean again and again. What do you use? What do you use? Prototype. Can you use singleton there? Can you use? Tell me where you'll use this singleton, all of this, where you'll give? Where you'll give? In one attribute, a bean tag. So for in the bean tag, you'll give one attribute. What attribute is that? Scope. And we call it as different scopes of Spring, or we can tell it as scopes of a bean in a Spring. This is what we have seen. I'm telling you, my friends, if you're not revising, whatever you have, the stuff in your mind at this point of time, that will also erase. Practice is the only option you have. Again, I'm telling you. Great. So all of this we have seen. Let us continue now. What is that, sir? Watch it. My friends, we have built web applications already. Have you built web applications? Yes or no? Yes. We built these web applications using what concept? Using what all concept? Servlets, using JSP, all of this, correct? All of this, where you have learned. Don't tell in TAP Academy only, sir. I mean, in which concept or which module you have learned? JEE, very good. Means to build this web application, you should be compulsorily knowing JEE, that is compulsory. Now, I want to learn JEE, means before learning JEE, you took so many months to learn something. Tell me, what is that? Core Java. Core Java, you should tell it as what? JSC, that is Java Standard Edition. And at the end, what you did there means JSC you have learned first. After that, you are JEE. And using this, you have built a beautiful web application there. Yes. In the same way, I want to build one web application now. I want to build one web application. That is what I'm showing you. I want to build a web app, web application. Good. So to create web application, this is with regard to your Java. I want to speak with regard to what? Spring, with regard to your framework. Now the question is, I have to create web app. Then what I should learn? You should learn one module of Spring. And what is that, sir? If you ask me, it is Spring Web MVC. What is that? Spring Web MVC. And this Spring Web MVC, you should be understanding it, and you will understand if and only if you learn something. What is that, sir? We call it as Spring Core. This is your normal Java, JSC, JEE, web applications you have built. In the same way, with regard to Spring, we have to build it, because at the end of the day, what is the advantage of Spring? This one is heavier because there's so many servlets, so much stuff is there. And this one is lighter. Means end of the day, you have to create a web application, correct? To create a web application, only Spring Core is not sufficient. Let me ask you this. Only using Core Java, can you create a web application? You cannot. Impossible. What you can create is desktop application, console application, but not the web application. That is why you went one step ahead. You learned JEE. On this, you built web application. And now it was having so many disadvantages. To solve this only, we have Spring. Means using Spring, I want to build web application. Only by learning Spring Core. Is that possible? No, you cannot. And that is why we have one more module in the Spring framework itself. And we call it as what? Spring Web MVC. And people in short call it just Spring MVC, like this. Good. And if you know Spring MVC, 100% we can build any web applications using Spring there. So now let us see what is the Spring MVC and everything. So please watch it. Great. Whatever the Spring MVC I'm telling here, this Spring MVC is a part of Spring framework itself. Sir, what do you mean by this, sir? Spring MVC is a part of Spring framework. Let me tell you, my friends, whatever you tell Spring framework is a collection of so many things. What is that? Number one, it is Spring Core. Good. Number two, Spring MVC. This is not the end. Number three, we have something known as Spring Security. This is one more module. There's one more thing. We call it as Spring ORM. There's one more guy. We call it as Spring JDBC. There's one more guy. His name is Spring Cloud. There's one more guy. His name is Spring AOP. In the same way, we have one more guy. His name is Spring Boot, like this. All of these are, it's not only the end. There's so many things are the Spring AI, so Spring JPA, so many things are there. All of this put together, we call it as what? Spring framework. Sir, you will teach all of this, sir, for me. No problem. You be with me for another 2 years, I will teach all of this. But all of these things, you will be applying it in the industry. But as a fresher, how many things you should learn there? You should be knowing Spring Core, Spring MVC, and some basics of Spring Boot. If you know, that is more than sufficient. So you know the Spring Core entirely, completely. And when you go for the interviews, 99.9%, they will ask the questions on Spring Core only, 99.9%. It is like, how is your Java? So how many times they ask advanced Java? How many times they ask advanced Java questions? But how many times they ask you core Java questions? How many times they'll ask you on arrays, on strings, on OOPS concepts, on exceptions, multi-threading collections? So many times means core Java, how it is, the foundation, and so many questions are being asked. In the same way, in the Spring framework, to learn all of this, this is the foundation, and that is what you have learned till now. So that is why 99% of the times you will be having the questions on Spring Core. What questions? What is Spring Container? What is IOC Container? What is dependency injection? How many files you can configure? How you will do it using Java file? How you will do it using annotation? What is at auto-wired? What is auto-wiring? What are scopes of a bean in a Spring? All of these questions are being asked. This is very, very important. And if you know the Spring Core individually, you can crack any interview which they'll be asking you the Spring framework. And all of this is an added advantage like a feather in your hat. Very good. So now Spring Core, you understood. Let us go to Spring MVC. And this Spring MVC, we have to learn now. And I wanted to tell you that Spring MVC is a part of what? Spring framework only. Very good. What's this? Whatever the Spring MVC I'm telling my friends, this Spring MVC, it is famously known as web part of Spring. What is the meaning, sir? If you have to create web application, Spring MVC is compulsory, is what people tell. Now the question is, sir, Spring MVC, why the Spring MVC name there? Why not Spring Web like this? Means we are creating using this only web application. The name should be Spring Web. But why the name MVC there? Why not Spring Web? Why? What's this? Long way back, you have created one application. You remember? Yes. Think and tell me what design pattern you have used there. What design pattern? You have used one design pattern and I call it as MVC. What is MVC? Model. What is V? View. What is C? Controller. This is the design pattern. What is the meaning of this? This is a set of rules and regulations you should follow to create any web application when it comes to the industry. Because this is a proven way wherein there will be less chances of bugs. It will be lightweight compared to the other applications if you're not using this model view controller. So that is why model view controller is a design pattern which is very important. You should be using it to create a web application. If you ask me, what is this MVC? I hope you know this. You know this, right? Awesome. So let me tell it to you once again. We have a database there. This is the schema, and inside this, we have a table. And this is how my table looks like this. Awesome. Not only this, we have something. What is that? I'm having here one computer, and that computer, I call it as a client. Awesome. And in this client, we have one web application running. And here I will get my first page as register. And in this register, I am going to give name and after that phone like this. Awesome. Like this, many details you can have, only these two things. Now, whatever the name you are giving and whatever the phone number you're giving, those details should be stored inside my database in my table. Means what you're building? One web application you're building. But when you're building this web application, however you want, you cannot create here. You cannot. Instead, when you're creating a web application, you should use their MVC design pattern only. What do you mean? What's this? If you want to interact with the database directly from the front end, you cannot interact, or directly from the client, you cannot interact with the database. Then how can I do it? You should interact with this guy, and this guy will interact with the database like this. And who is this guy, sir? If you ask me, his name is model like this. Means you got to know. What do you mean by model? After that, it is view. What do you mean by view, sir? If you ask me, this is the view. Awesome. Sir, what I should put it inside this view, sir? Inside this view, you have to put some code, and this code should be responsible for displaying all the pages on your client. What is the meaning? You're getting here this register, this page. This you should get it with the help of view only. You want to display something here, beautiful things, it should be displayed by this view only. That is the design pattern and that is a rule. Directly from here somewhere I want to display it, then you're not following the design pattern. Maybe you will get the output, but you're not following the design pattern. And in the industry, they will take you very seriously. Maybe one time they will see, second time they will see, third time, tata, bye-bye. That is why design pattern you should follow. View is a person who will display. And who is going to display, sir? If you ask me, you can use HTML file, you can use JSP file, any front-end technologies you can dump inside this view part. Very good. So now the question is, sir, can I interact my client directly to the model? You cannot. This fellow should interact with what? View. And view should interact with what? Model. Model should interact with this fellow. But let me tell you, my friends, from here, directly you cannot go to the model. You cannot. And what should I do, sir? From here, the request is sent from the client. And from this request, you cannot go here. You cannot go. Instead, what should I do, sir? Instead, from here, you should go to one middle one here. And who is that middle guy, sir, if you ask me? And that middle guy, I call it as controller like this is the controller. And this controller is coded. Sir, how should I code this controller, sir? You can code this controller using what? Servlets like this. Means that is your Java program. That is your JEE like this. And this is how the flow should be. When you interact, you should be interacting with the view. And view will interact with the controller. Controller will interact with model. Model will interact with database. Database will interact with the model. Model will interact with the controller. Controller will interact with the view, and view will give you the response like this. And this is the request. Sensing this much? And this we call it as what? MVC. Great. So now you got to know what is MVC. But now the question is, why the name Spring MVC? What's this? My friends, when it comes to JEE, in JEE, if you are not using design pattern MVC also, it will work. It will give you the output, correct? But if you are using MVC, your application is a great program. Your application is a great application. But when it comes to web applications creating using Spring, let me tell you, you cannot create web application without MVC design pattern. Means the creator of the Spring MVC has done in such a way that you don't have any option rather than using this Spring MVC. Option only you don't have. Why, sir? Tell me which is the best way? Using MVC. By default, he dumped this model view controller inside the Spring web only. Means you have to use MVC design pattern to create web application using your Spring. That is compulsory. And that is why the name what? Spring MVC. Sensing this much. When it comes to JEE, you have two options. What is the first option? Don't use MVC. Will it work? Yes. What is the second option? Use MVC. Will it work? Yes. Among these two, which is good? Using MVC it is good. You can use it. But two options also you have. But I want to create web application not using JEE, using Spring only. Am I having two options? No. You have only one option. What is that one option? MVC. By default, you should use it because that is a proven way to create wonderful web applications. Got this, all of you? Great. So now, how I can build this Spring MVC, and that is what I'm telling you. What's this? There is something. What is that, sir? Spring MVC architecture. What is that? Spring MVC architecture. And if you know this, you will understand how the Spring by default it will work. Okay, sir, how it will work? What's this? I'm having my database here. End of the day, you are building a web application. If you are building a web application, you should be interacting with your data or the database. And let me tell my database there. And this is how I do it. Awesome. This is the table. Good. Now there is one person. And who is that, sir? He is the client. So let me tell it in this way. This is the client. This is the client computer. Very good. So the same thing here. What is that, sir? I want to put some details there in my table. That is why I have to register my name there. I should get one page, register, and I'm having here name like this. Good. And after that, what we have, sir? We have phone like this, all the details we have. And I'm going to enter the details there like this and hit enter. When I hit enter there or submit, all these details, where it should go and store? Inside your database. So I'm just giving an example that I'm building this kind of a web application wherein I'm doing some registration work here. Okay, sir, how can I do it? What's this? This is very important. This is client. And let me tell you, my friends, whenever the client is interacting, The client will always interact to one person here. One person will interact with. And who is that person, sir? If you ask me, his name is this. What is his name, sir? His name, I call it as front controller. What is his name? What is his name? Front controller. So whenever you'll be sending the request to anyone, this request, when it comes to Spring MVC, it will always goes to the front controller. Who is this front controller? This front controller, we call it as dispatcher servlet. What is his name? Dispatcher servlet. So how to use him, how to create him, everything we will see. Awesome. Next, what, sir, if you ask me, what's this? Now, front controller is there. He is like the entry point of your web application. And whomsoever the client is interacting, they should interact with the front controller itself. And we can build using what? Dispatcher servlet, or some people call it as dispatch servlet. Awesome. Okay, sir. Next, what will happen? I'll pause here. Let me come here. If I have to interact with this database or table, you need someone. And who is that someone, sir? If you ask me, that someone is model. Who is that? Model. Tell me, how will code model? Model. Pojo classes. Great. And after that, in the middle, what you have here? Here, what you have? So you should be using DAO design pattern. So I'll not make it complicated for you. What I will do is I'll get the model there. Beautiful. Next, what, sir? This model will be interacting with the table and he will give you the result. And who will give the result, sir? If you ask me, it is the table to the model. Means ultimately from here, if you go here, tell me from here where you should go. You should go to the table. If you have to go to the table, directly you should go to the table. No. To whom you should go? To the model. Means if you think that from here, you should go to front controller. From front controller, you should go to the model. And from model, it will fetch the data. It will come here and it will come here in one straight line like this. You're absolutely wrong. Okay, sir. Then what should happen? From here, directly you cannot go to the model. You cannot. Instead, you need some people. Who is that? This fellow is taking lot of space. So what I will do, I'll simply come here and I'll just tell it as DS, means dispatcher servlet like this. Good. Now what's this? From here, you're coming here. From here, you cannot go here. But instead, you should go somewhere. Why is that? Or where is that? That is why we have some controllers here. And that is what I'm showing you. You have controllers like this. Good. Who is he, sir? He is controller 1. Good. He is controller 2. Awesome. He is controller 3. Awesome. He is controller 4. Like this. Watch it. Sir, what are these controllers, sir? Let me tell you. See, this controller is for login. Or maybe I will tell it as register. There's one more controller you will create who is for login. There is one more controller you will create for verification. Like this, you will create different controllers for to do different stuff there. Please go ahead. You have to use different controllers there to do different things. If you have created the project, you will understand what I'm trying to tell there. Awesome. So what's this? Now what you should do is, whenever you are sending a request, front controller, and as I told you, he cannot interact with the model directly. Then who should he interact with, sir? He should interact with, tell me what you're doing there? Registering, correct? then you should be contacting the register controller there. And this register controller will speak with the model. The model will go here, fetch the information, give it back to you. From here to the controller, next it will proceed further. Sensing what I'm trying to tell? Great. So now the question is, will this front controller will go to this controller, that is one, because it's there for register. Say for example, instead of register, it is asking you login. Login means what? Here username, password, submit. Tell me, the front controller should meet whom now? So the second controller there, like that. Understanding? Very good. Okay, sir, how you will do? What's this? See, register will come here. From here, I should go. The question is, from here, will it go here? The answer is no. It will not go there. Then what will happen, sir, if you ask me, what is that? Before it goes there, there's one more guy here. And who is that guy, sir, if you ask me? That is what I am showing you. He is that guy. And what is this guy will do, sir? This guy, I call him as mapper, or to be precise, if I have to tell it as handling mappers. Or simply I can tell it as handling the mapping, like this. What do you mean by this, sir? Watch it. What we'll be doing is, when you send a request, it will go to the front controller. But front controller will not be knowing to which controller I should go. He know that he should go here only, but this information we don't have. Then you should go to that controller only. Where is that information present in? It is present in handling mapping or handle mapping, like that. So what will happen is, when you send a request here, front controller will ask the handler or the mapper, telling that to which controller I should go. Now this guy will tell that, hey, there is a controller with the name control 1, you should go there. Now when he get the information, then only he will go to this controller now. And after that, he will go to the model, and from model, he will fetch the detail. He will come, he'll go to the controller, he will come back like this. Sensing this much. Sir, why all of this process, sir? This is an architecture. This is by default, and this is how Spring MVC is made. Maybe in the first day you're feeling that why so much complication? Even this guy, that is JW, was only very easy. Servlet, index.html, code, go there, web servlet, from here, model, go there to the table fetch, very easy. Maybe you're not understanding at this point of time. But when you start building the applications using Spring MVC, you'll tell Namaskar, thank you so much. You are there. And that is why I am here as a developer. That much easy it is. And it will make that much lightweight application. Sensing this much. Sir, from there directly I want to go here, sir. Can I go? You cannot do it in Spring MVC. You have to go through all of this, or else you should not use Spring MVC. If you are not using Spring MVC, in industry, how will create web application? Because in industry, how they will create web application? Using this only. Sensing what I'm trying to tell? Great. What's this? When you send the request will be going to the front controller, request you have sent. And now this front controller don't know to which controller I should go. Should I go here? Should I go here? Here or here? Where? That is why all this information is present in handling mapping. He will go and ask. And now this handling mapping or mappers will give me that information where you should go. Using this information, I will go to controller 1 like this. And this controller 1 will go to the model there like this. And this model will go to your table, get it back. And this information he will give you back to the controller. And this controller will go to the front controller like this. So now the front controller will be having two things now. What are the two things? Think and tell me, my friends. What you are getting from the table? Data. Have you inserted or not? If it is inserting, what it will be returning? 1. We have seen this execute update like that. Yes or no? So now he's giving me some data. And that data, I should display it to the request or to that client. Yes or no? Means now whatever this front controller is getting will get two things from the controllers there. And what is that, sir, if you ask me? The first thing is he will get their data, what he want to display, plus view, means how that page should be present in. There are two things he will get. What are the two things? Data he will get, and after that, view. View means what? Which page should get displayed? Means, what is the meaning? If 1 is there, 1 means the registration is successful. That registration is successful, that is the view part you have to display. Yes or no? Means on your client or on your computer, you should get here one message, registration successful. Tell me who will display this? Registration successful. Who will display? Who will display? There is one guy. Who is that, sir? That guy is not visible here. Let me show you. That is done by one person. And that person, I'm showing it to you like this. And it is done by view. And in this view only, you have coded one page. And what page is that, sir? If you ask me, success.jsp. That's just name I'm giving. .jsp is the name of the file. And in this, there is something. What is that? Registration success. I want this to get displayed. Why? Because you have successfully registered the data. Now, this controller is giving you that data. Is he registered or not? Now he is giving the information to you that which view page you should get displayed. Tell me, registration is successful. Which view page he should get displayed now? Registration successful. Yes or no? If in case it is not happening, something happens there and it is not getting registered. If it is not getting registered, there is one more JSP file. And what is that, sir? If you ask me, it is failure.jsp like this. Means this view should be displayed. And what you'll get? Registration failure like this. It should get displayed. And who will give this information to the front controller that what he should display? Should he display this page or should he display this page? Because he is the guy who is interacting with your client. Yes or no? No. He will give the information. Number 1, data he will give. That is it updated or not? Next, view means this person will be interacting, telling that, hey, this page only should be displayed to the client. Sensing this much? Very good. Means this is how the story looks like now. How is that, sir? If you ask me, what's this? Great. See what happens at this point of time. I will tell you once again. You're going here, from here, you're going here, you're coming to the front controller again. Using this information, you're going to the controller 1. From controller 1, you're going to the model. From here, you're inserting the data. You got the information from this telling that you have inserted successfully. It is given back to you. Now he will give the data that 1. 1 means what? You have inserted the data there. So this data is passed to whom? Passed to front controller. And now controller will tell that, hey, look, it is updated. Take 1. And also as updated means view part. Which view part you should display? Success.jsp. That information is reaching to the front controller. Now the question is, will this front controller will give the information directly to the view and tell that go here and you display? The answer is no. No. Okay, sir. Then what should I do now? So for this only, we have one more middle guy here. And who is that middle guy, sir? That is what I'm showing you. He is that middle guy. Very good. So this guy, we call it as view resources. What we call? View resources like this. Sir, why we have this guy, sir? Tell me, this front controller, he should go to that first controller only. How he got the information? This mapping. You can simply tell it as mapper like that. So now this mapper has given the information, hey, front controller, you should go to there itself. Correct? In the same way, when he will tell it to him that this view only should get displayed, this fellow will be not knowing that where is that view page. Where is this view page? Will be not knowing. Think and tell me, all of these view pages, where it will be present in my dynamic web project. JSP files, HTML files, where it will be presented? Where? Web app. Very good. Web app. Awesome. Where web app? Very good. Inside this, there is something known as web INF, web information. Inside this, you'll be having one page. What page? Success.jsp. Yes or no? And your front controller will not be knowing that this success.jsp is present here, it is present here. He will be not knowing. But where all of this information will present in that this fellow is present here only, where all of this information is present in, it is present inside one fellow. Which fellow is that, sir? View resources. It will be present there. That, hey, success.jsp is present in this only. All that information will be present here. Who needs that information now? Front controller. Means front controller should not interact with him because he don't know I should interact with him only. Instead, this fellow should interact with whom? View resources. So what happens is now your front controller will be interacting with view resources, and view resources will interact with the front controller. Front controller will get to know that I should go to success.jsp in this location only, and then he will respond to a client by telling response like this. When you do that on the client computer, you will get it as what? Success or registration success. And this is how the process is involved. Sensing this much? Very good. So what's this, all of you? What happens is, this front controller at this point of time is getting the view part and is sending the information to the view resources, telling that where is that success.jsp, please tell me, because this controller one is telling me that you have to display success.jsp, but success.jsp, where it is present in, I don't know. Please tell me where it is present in. View resources will be having that information, and he will send the information to him back like this. When he send all the information, he will get to know that the success.jsp is present in this folder itself. He will go here, and this fellow will be responding like this. So when he responds, that is why we call it as what? Response like this. Sensing this much, and whatever I'm showing you here, this we call it as what? Spring MVC architecture. Now you'll be like, JEE is only fine, sir. I'll start using that only. No. At this point of time, you'll feel so complicated, but you'll start using it. Nothing is there. And anyhow, this is complicated. This is complicated. See, the thing is, you should always ask the question that when I send the request there, where it should go? Front controller. Front controller, where it should go? To the table. Will table directly it will interact? No. Whom you need? Model. Model will interact. So front controller should interact with model? No. Then who should he interact with? With controller. Can he interact with the controller? No, because that information he don't have. Where is this information present in? In mapper. It is present. He will go there, fetch the information. He'll go to the controller. He will go. He'll fetch the information, give it back to you. And now he should display one message. And that message displaying, controller one has already shown to you that there is success.jsp, go there and display. But this fellow, no, success.jsp I should display. But where is that success.jsp? You don't know. That is why. Who is knowing that? This fellow is knowing that. That is why I'll come here and he will ask, hey, tell me I need some information about success.jsp you have. He will be like, hey, I know this is where he's present and please go there. Now you get to know that I should go there. He will go here and this fellow will be responding. That's it. Sensing this much? Very good. And whatever I'm telling here, this we call it as Spring MVC architecture. And if there are, or if there is some questions being asked in an interview, there will be a lot of questions are being asked from this architecture itself. You should be knowing. Very good. What's this? The Spring MVC architecture, I'll just eliminate it. I'll come here. And whatever this computer I'm telling here, this computer, I'll call with one name. What name, sir? That is what I'm showing you. This is my computer. Good. What is the name of this computer, sir? What is the name of this computer? Client, like this. And rest all whatever you have. Maybe I'll show it to you in a different color. The next one, whatever you have, handling the mapping, front controller, view part, your database, everything belongs to one computer. And which computer is that, sir? If you ask me, I'm showing you. Please watch this. This is the view part, view resource, including your database, everything controllers belong to one guy. And who is that, sir? If you ask me, who is he? He is a server like this. Understanding this much means this is client, this is server. Means whatever you are doing here, all of these things, you are doing it in the server. Got this, all of you? Great. So now we have to build this front controller, all of these handlers and everything. And all of this, how many classes are there? How many objects should be getting created? All of this you have to configure. And to configure it, you need the configuration file. And we did it using 3 ways. And after that, it is not only one table, there will be other tables as well. So this table data, I want to bring it here. Why, sir? Why? Because his primary key is present here. Means there's a foreign key. I want to relate both of them. That is when dependency injection will come into picture. In Spring Core, everything I will use it here to build my great web application. Got this, all of you? Great. Awesome. So before I end this, I'll just give the numbers there. What are the numbers, sir? Watch it. First, you are building the request, or you're sending the request. Front controller has sent this to handling mapping, and this guy has told that this is where you should go. And this fellow went here, took the data, got it back. From here, he'll give the information to the controller. From the controller, you're getting it to the front controller. From the front controller, you're going to the view resource. From the view resource, you are going to the front controller again. From front controller, you are going to the view part. From the view part, you are going to the client computer. So this is how it is. Got this, all of you? Great. You want to copy this? You want to copy this now? Yes or no? No copying, sir. It is there in my mind. It is there in your mind, is it? Please copy it quickly. Or you have a recorded video, you can watch it and copy it. Yes, you guys will do it. I trust you people. You guys will do it? Great. Okay, great then. So whatever I have done here, we have to start building one web application now. So before I build web application, first we have to set up a server. Means you're not building a Java project now. What you're building? Web application. So web application, who will be maintaining all of that? It will be Apache Tomcat. So Apache Tomcat should be there in your computer. I hope it is there, correct? So you tell me which project we will use, Dynamic Web Project, or we will use the Maven project. We'll go for Maven. Great. So using Maven project, we will start building your first web application using your spring. And here itself, you'll understand how easy it is. But before we build this, I was thinking that I have to take a minimum of, some 3 classes today for you. But I got the other work, which is very crucial work because I have to do some recording as well. So those 3 classes I cannot take. Only 1 class only I can take. That is this class. So I'm having time till 12:15 itself. But I start building this project means I need a minimum of 2 hours, one stretch. But that much time I don't have. That is why. But I'm having time till 12 o'clock. So what we will do is, I will have a mock for you now. I'll conduct a mock for you. Let me see that at this point of time where your knowledge is standing. Great. All of you should come and occupy this first bench quickly.